So, new Phyrexia is all sorted through. Figure either sometime tonight or tomorrow I'll start sorting through the corsets. It's going to be a big pain in the buttocks. I mean, everything post 4th edition is going to be relatively easy. You know, because you got definite copyright dates on it. Before 4th edition, all I had was revised, really, but I do have a small number of like unlimited cards scattered in there. It's not always easy to tell them apart from revised. Usually is, but not always. Revised is, you know, kind of has a washed out look to it, and has a different border between the edge of the card and the card art. But like I said, that's going to be something I'm going to be working on for a while. In the meantime, talk about new Phyrexia. That'll take me, I don't know, a little over 2 days, 3 days. Hopefully by then I'll have enough of the corset sorted out that I'll be able to, you know, talk about them in some kind of a meaningful fashion. Yes, that's right, folks. I'm that close to being done with this ridiculous project. It's been, what, over 160 days? Almost half a year at this point, I want to say. Yeah, this has taken a lot longer than expected. Part of that reason why is because I've been documenting it. But that's life. And I started this project, and I decided to document it, and I'm doing it, you know? Not giving up. Especially not now that I'm right at the end. So what we got here? We got a 1/1 infect for 1 mana. I don't see anything wrong with that. It's good. It's effective. Mutagenic growth. It's a good card. It really is. I mean, I don't think it's anything worth getting too excited about, but the idea to like squeeze out extra damage or save a creature or kill an enemy's creature in combat, blah blah blah, whatever. When you have a slightly less efficient giant growth that you can play in any color by paying 2 life, that's pretty good. I mean, that's good. And that's it in a nutshell right there. It's a good card. Noxious Revival. It's basically it's a reclaim that you can cast for 2 life. You know, it's an instant. You take something out of your graveyard, put it on top of your deck. I mean, if you want to get technical, yeah, it's card disadvantage, but it's also graveyard recursion that fits in any color. And it's not restricted to creatures, you know? So, you know, interesting stuff there. Viridian Harvest is... that's... meh. I don't like it. I mean, it's enough life gain to actually raise the eyebrows, but it's an aura enchantment. When enchanted artifact is put into a graveyard, gains 6 life. I mean, granted, 1 mana for 6 life, that's not bad, especially if it's something that you're going to sacrifice or whatever. But outside of that, I mean, yeah, it's not really worth a card slot. I mean, you know, cards that make you gain 6, 7 life, 5, 6, 7 life. Once you hit that point, it's actually the kind of life gain where you sit up and take notice. The thing is, though, is that it also has to be the kind of life gain you can do more than once in order to really get people excited about life gain. Because normally, life gain, not exciting. Elixir of Immortality, that's good life gain. Hold on. I gain 5 life, and I shuffle my graveyard back into my library, including itself. Yeah, it's almost completely better than the old Feldon's Cane, you know? Deathhead Cobra, it's a 2/2, optional reach, optional death touch. It's functional. I don't know if I really like it better than, say, I'm trying to remember what it was. I can't remember the card's name off the top of my head now. And it was in a core set, too. It's a 1/2 reach death touch spider. I'm not sure if I like this more than that, you know. I mean, but this thing can... you have to leave mana aside. The 1-point power boost over it is sometimes worth it. Gliss's Scorn, or I've heard some people refer to it as Gliss's Booty, because Gliss's buttocks plays a prominent role in the art. But, yeah, nuke an artifact, controller loses 1 life. If it was artifact or enchantment, I'd say bump it up to uncommon, make it 2, it'd be awesome. Maybe make it cost a black and a green, who knows. But, as it is right now, I'd rather run Naturalize. I really would. But, you know, in limited, it's not a bad card, though. Leeching Bite, it's been the same effect for the same mana cost has been printed in black before. It's not a bad effect. One creature gets +1/+1, another one gets -1/-1. You can use this to kill utility creatures. You can use this to change your opponent. How can I put this? You can use it to change an exchange where your opponent is expecting to trade creatures to just eat your creature. You can turn an exchange where you are otherwise expecting to lose a creature into you eliminate a creature to keep yours. I mean, it does fun things. Melira, Sylvok Outcast, she's got a role in the story. From a game mechanics perspective, she exists solely as an infect hoser. For the same power, toughness, and casting cost as Grizzly Bears. She's a bear, but she's not vanilla. You can't get poison counters. Creatures you control can't have -1/-1 counters placed on them. Creatures your opponents control lose infect. There's a couple of combos with her. For example, Phyrexia Unlife, which hoses infect. I mentioned it briefly yesterday. I didn't talk much about it. I suppose this is a good place to talk about Phyrexia Unlife a little bit more. It's a white enchantment that says you don't lose the game for having less than 20 life. No, I'm sorry, you don't lose the game for having less than 1 life. Brain fart. When your life total is below 0, all creatures your opponents control gain infect. Below 1, rather. Whatever. So, yeah, I mean, you combine that with Melira, and you can't get poison counters. So, you know, you just sit there and it's like, look, you need to remove Melira or the Unlife if you want to kill me. Kid Science, fun stuff. Beast Within, I apparently only have 1 of them. Large on account of fact it was a highly drafted uncommon, so when people would see them, they'd usually snap them up. Destroy target permanent. The controller of that permanent gets a 3/3 beast token. It's not a bad card. For something that's half the cost of Desert Twister, the drawback of giving your opponent a 3/3 creature, not that bad, you know? Mycosynth Fiend is a weird one. It's 3 mana for a 2/2 that gets +1/+1 for each poison counter your opponent has. Your opponents have. I'm not sure what to think of it. It works kind of at cross purpose with Infect. So it's kind of weird like that. Radiant Betrayers, on the other hand, is a 3/1 that gains Infect if your opponent is poisoned. That's not bad. That's not bad at all, especially comparing it, for example, to the 3/1 Infect Elf with protection from artifacts in the first set of the block in Scars of Mirrodin. I like to think of this as actually being better because since it doesn't have protection from artifacts, you can throw equipment on it. Oh yeah. Hey, let's put a bladed pinions on it. Hello, 3/1 flying first strike infect. What are you gonna put in front of that? I don't know, but it better be good. Better be good. Fresh meat. I find the illustration on fresh meat interesting. It reminds me of a lot of the Beast Within. It's an instant for 3 and green. You get a 3/3 beast token for each creature put into your graveyard from play this turn. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. I mean, you could easily turn. I mean, if you could be playing green-red and running like elf weenies, and you can just like turn your board sideways at your opponent. You know, lose a few creatures, blah 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 blah. Your opponent's not dead yet, whatever. Pyroclasm, finish everything on the board off, and Beast Within. Beast Within. Fresh meat. Pyroclasm, fresh meat. Yeah, I just replaced my army of elves with 3/3 beasts. Good night. Come on, you know you want to. Especially with the green and red combination with the Mon Acceleration green, you can pull that off. Green Hilt Trainee is an interesting one. It's a green play on Bloodshot Trainee. It's a 2/3, and you tap it to give target creature +4/+4 till end of turn, but you can only activate this ability while the trainee's power is 4 or greater. I'm not sure what to think of that. It's not really. I don't know if I could call it good or not. I'm not certain. But generally, anything you could do to up his power like that, I wouldn't bother with. You know, I'd put it on something else. You know, simple and blunt. But honestly, I would have loved to have seen him reprinted in core set. I mean, especially M12, where you've got Troll Skin and you have the Goblin enchantment. The Goblin enchantment gives a creature +2/+2 haste. The Troll Skin gives a creature +2/+2 in regeneration. In a case like that, yeah, absolutely, do it up. That would be cool. But no. I mean, in this set, when you've got all this equipment running around and whatnot, why would I want to suit him up when I could suit up somebody else? I don't know. Even still, I think it's more of a wonky limited card. I just couldn't see building around him. He's just not good enough. I mean, with the Bloodshot Trainee, you know, the ability to do direct damage, that's different. Totally worth it. This, not. I've only got one of them. That's okay. Like I said, he's not really good card. Triumph of the Hordes. I think I've only got 2 copies of it. Yeah, and it's not a bad card at all. 2 colors, double green for a sorcery till end of turn. Creatures you control get +1/+1 trample and infect. That's nutty. I've lost games in draft to that before. Is it overrun? No, it's not overrun, but it's redonkulously close. Especially if you have, like a large enough edge in numbers, it might as well be. Rotted Hystrix, 5 mana for vanilla 3/6, whoop-de-flippin'-dee. Doesn't impress me. It's a solid body, but it just doesn't impress me. For that much mana, I expect something better, you know? Brutalizer Exarch. He's a 3/3 for 6 of all things. When he hits the field, tutor for a creature card, shuffle, put the creature on top, or put a non-creature permanent on bottom of owner's library. I'm just not impressed by it. I mean, it's an interesting effect, but, you know, if it was a lower casting cost, and probably in exchange for that tied to a smaller body, I'd say, yeah, go for it. But, no. Phyrexian Swarm Horde, 6 mana for a 4/4 infect. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you get a 1/1 green insect token with infect for each poison counter your opponents have. note the S on that for opponents. I could easily see this thing being fun in an infect-based EDH deck. I really could. The problem, of course, being is who would you use as a general? I mean, really? Infecting EDH? The only general I can think of that are appropriate are Phyrexia, the Blight Dragon, who's black? No, that's not gonna work. It's just not. Spinebiter, 6 mana for a 3/4 infect that can deal damage to a defending player as though it weren't blocked, even if it is blocked. That's not bad. That's basically like Thorn Elemental style trample. Quasi-trample, whatever you want to call it. Speaking of trample, here we have the Thundering Pteranodon. He's a 5/4 for 4 and double Phyrexia green with trample. It's not bad. I mean, it's a relatively solid card. I don't think he's going to see tournament play, but he's solid, you know. Maul Splicer, it's 7 mana, so it's way up there on the mana curve. Almost not worth it on the mana curve, but you're looking at a 1/1 that gives you a pair, not 1, 2, 3 golem tokens, and gives all golems trample. Oh, golems you control. But hey, you know what? Spending 7 mana for 1 card that gives you a pair of 3/3 trample, that ain't a bad deal. It's not. The problem, of course, is once again how high it is on the mana curve. Vorinclex, Voice of Hunger, a 7/6 trample for 8 mana. No, 7/6 trample for 8 mana, that would be considered acceptable as a common. But he's got a couple other extra abilities that supposedly justify him being a mythic rare. He's a one-sided mana flare. Yeah, doubles the mana you produce from any land. Okay, a one-sided mana flare, that's not bad, still not mythic. But whenever an opponent taps a land for mana, that land doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. That's awesome sauce. That will keep people... And he's... Now granted, at 8 mana, that's kind of high on the casting cost, but he's green. He's green, people. You can power him out on turn 3 or 4 in a mono green deck. Just power him out. For extra craps and giggles, throw Winter Orb in the deck. Since you've powered him out, you know you don't really need to untap your lands anyway. Especially since they're providing double mana. You know, half your deck is going to be mana-producing weenies. The other half is going to be like stuff like with redonkulously huge casting costs. And Vorinclex is just going to sit there and say, what are you going to do about it? Oh, right, that's right, nothing. It's like, seriously. When you have a Vorinclex sitting there saying, yeah, when you tap a land for mana, it doesn't untap on your next turn. And then you have Winter Orb sitting there, so you're only untapping 1 land a turn anyway. So, yeah, you basically totally messed up their mana base. You thought you had enough mana? No, you don't. You silly boy. Corrosive Gale. It's a Phyrexian mana Hurricane. It's not bad. It doesn't actually do damage to players, though, which is kind of interesting. That's alright. That's alright. So, probably rambled a lot about the green. That's okay. Look at the red cards. We got Furnace Scamp. I'm not really sold on him. You know, he's a 1/1 for 1. Yeah, when he deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice it. If you do, deals 3 damage to that player. If it had haste, I'd be sold on it, but it doesn't. Gut Shot for Phyrexian red for 1 damage target creature or player. It's usable. It's usable. I mean, that's one of those cards that is really hard to do more than 1 damage without upping the casting cost, you know? I mean, if it was like 1 colorless and a Phyrexian red, and for 2 damage, I'd be all over it. Or if it was one in a Phyrexian red for... I don't know about that, but if it was like, say, double Phyrexian red for 3 damage, I'd be all over it. Or 2 damage with a draw card effect linked to it. I'd be all over it. But at a single Phyrexian red for 1 damage, I don't know. I'm not sold. Not completely. I'll come right out and say it's playable, but I'm not completely sold. Slag Fiend, I've heard some people complain that its creature type should have been Lurgoyf. I'm really sympathetic to that. I really am. Just taking a sip of my coffee here. It's a single red mana for a creature whose power and toughness are equal to the number of artifact cards in all graveyards. This guy so should have been a Lurgoyf. Seriously. And what kind of creature type is Construct for a non-artifact creature? Seriously. Someone tell me what kind of creature type Construct is for a non-artifact creature. I don't know. I just don't know. Whip Flare. This is a card whose flavor text doesn't match the faction on its watermark. But it's 2 damage to each non-artifact creature for a colorless or red. If you're running an artifact creature heavy deck yourself, that's not a bad replacement for Pyroclasm. Yeah, I'm sitting there brain farting on Phyrexia. I'm like, holy crap, I know the card I'm thinking about. I mentioned it just a couple of minutes ago. Yeah. There's a Bludgeon Brawl. I think that one might be an extra. I don't know. Because I've got a few set aside to be put into deck. But that's okay. It's a fun little card. It turns it turns non-creature artifacts into equipment with an equip cost equal to their mana cost. That's kind of funky. I like it. It's interesting. It does weird stuff. If you haven't seen it, somewhere on my YouTube channel, there's also, during one of my days I took off from sorting, there's also a video about my Landless deck where I mentioned how I've got a couple of these in it, and I was meaning to throw a couple more in. When a lot of your mana base is things like, Talisman of Impulse, Talisman of Purity, not Purity, but what, Talisman of Impulse, the original Talismans from the first Mirrodin block, when you've got stuff hanging around like, Mercadian Atlas, when you've got stuff like that hanging around, being able to suit that up onto a creature is really funky. Priest of Urabrask. He's basically a chaos-shifted Priest of Gix. 2 colors and a red for a 2/1. When he hits the board, you get red, red, red. It's not bad. Not fantastic, but it's not bad. I mean, provided you have something else to do that turn as well, he might as well have a casting cost of 0. It's not bad. It's not bad. Razor Swine, or as I like to call him, the Ziggy Piggy. He's a 2/1 first strike, in fact. This guy's awesome in draft or sealed deck. He just sits there and rips people open and does a real good job of it. First strike and infect is a totally evil combination. He's one of the very small number of red creatures that actually has infect. I want to say there's only 2, himself and the Ogre Menial. And this guy's just awesome. You would not believe how many of those are in my extra stack. Bolt Charge. It's 2 colors and a red for a lightning bolt that proliferates. I guess they're trying to say that proliferate is as a rider on effect should cost 2. Maybe 1, I'm not certain. Well, technically, well, yeah, Simple on account of the fact that Wizards has said that they think Lightning Bolt is too efficient of a burn card, which is why they discontinued it again in M12. On the other hand, in M12 also replaced Lightning Bolt with Shock and Incinerate. So, and they kept Chandra's Outrage. So, I'm not completely happy, but I'll accept that trade-off. Know what I'm saying? Scrapyard Salvo, sorcery, colors double red, damage to player equal to the number of artifacts in your graveyard. I'm not thrilled by it, to say the least. I don't really like it. Bullshock Refugee, he's a funky one. He's one of those handful of creatures that have protection from their own color. He's a colorless and double red for a 3/2 pro red. It's kind of interesting. And I've only got one of them, amazingly enough. Artillerize, 3 colors and a red, instant. As part of the casting cost, sacrifice an artifact or creature, 5 damage target creature or player. You're looking at a more flexible version of Goblin Grenade for a much higher casting cost. But it's also an instant, whereas the grenade was a sorcery. So it's not a bad trade-off. And I think this should also illustrate how good Goblin Grenade really is, and how insane that they reprinted Goblin Grenade in M12. I never thought I'd see Goblin Grenade reprinted, much less in a core set. Really? Fallen Feralmancer. He's a 1/1 infect, and colorless and red tapped, 1 damage target creature or player. He's awesome. I like him. I don't know if he's constructed worthy. Offhand, I'd say probably not. Casual, he's great. Draft, sealed deck, he's a beat stick, rivaled in his utility maybe by the Vedalken Anatomist. I'm serious, he's really that good. Really good. The Ogre Menial, a 0/4 infect with fire breathing for 4 mana. It's kind of interesting. It's not really all that good a card. It's playable in limited, but outside of that, I really don't think I'd use him. Sometimes I refer to him as infect breathing. Ruthless Invasion, 3 in a Phyrexian red for sorcery. Non-artifact creatures can't block this turn. I'm not thrilled by it. And that's the long and short. I'm just not thrilled by it. Tormentor Exarch, 3 in a red for a 2/2. When he hits the board, you can either give a creature +2/+0 or -0/-2. He's interesting. You don't normally see negative toughness effects in red. You just don't. Dare I say, this guy would be, in other sets, he would be more appropriate as a black card or a red and black card, but not as a straight red card, you know what I'm saying? But he's really interesting. Sadly, I only have one of them. Geosurge, I've only got 3 of. I might actually try and look around, get some more new Phyrexia, because I actually do want a 4th Geosurge. My plan with the Geosurges is, you know, maybe like turn 3, you know, turn 1 mountain, turn 2 mountain, tap 2 mountains, Iron Mirror, turn 3 mountain, tap 3 mountains, tap Iron Mirror, play Geosurge. That gives you 7 mana, all of it red, that can only be used on artifacts and creatures. Molten Steel Dragon, pay 4 life for the Phyrexian mana. And then 3 colorless and pay 2 life for the Phyrexian mana for Phyrexian Metamorph and copy the Molten Steel. Yeah. I mean, no, it's not terrifically efficient. Yeah, it leaves you vulnerable, but my goodness, that would be... could you imagine a play that on turn 3 gives you a pair of 4/4 flyers with fire breathing? Come on. Slash Panther, he's a 4/2 haste for 4 and Phyrexian red. I don't like him. I know some people do, I don't. That's the long and short of it. I just don't see him as terrifyingly efficient. Victorious Destruction. 4 and a red. Destroy an artifact or land. Controller of that artifact or land loses 1 life. Someone, please tell me why we tolerate this at this kind of a casting cost. Now, granted, it is a common, but, you know, back in the day, as an uncommon, you could get... I hate this camera. It's a pain in the buttocks. So, I went and double-checked the video I had, and it seems it cut off somewhere around Victorious Destruction. Well, I know I spent a lot of time talking about the Invader Parasite and how I liked it, and I know I talked about the Active Aggression, which I only have 1 of, sadly. So I'm going to say a couple words really quick. Victorious Destruction, Let Down, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to say as much about it as I did earlier. I only looked at it really quick. I don't know how much of that I caught, but I know I left off with that. Pain in my buttocks. Active Aggression. It's a good solid card. 3 double Phyrexia in red for instant gain control of a creature till end of creature you don't control till end of turn. Untap it. It has haste. That's pretty solid. Normally you expect a temporary control spell to cost you 4, especially if it's an instant. So something that you can drop on turn 3. That thing can swing games around. Even better if you have a Sacrifice Engine. Invader Parasite. He's a 5 mana, 3/2, hits the board. Imprint of you exile a land from the battlefield that's imprinted on it. Whenever an opponent, whenever land with that same name comes into play under an opponent's control, the Parasite does 2 damage to him. Parasite's nice, especially if you have a way to bounce him back to your hand, recast him later. That's when it becomes fun, because then you've got reusable land destruction. Reusable land destruction is always amazing. People don't like that action, which is why I enjoy it. So anyways, I talked about the Parasite, then I went on with the Urbrask, the Hidden, blah 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 blah. So I'm not sure if I'm going to tack this into the middle or at the end. I don't know. I've got a video in 3 pieces now. Camera drives me nuts. Blarg. Okay. Anyhow, I think I'll just drop this right in the middle. So, moving on from here, you're about to hear me complain about my camera, blah, 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 and talk about the rest of the red cards. Okay. Now, you see, this camera drives me nuts sometimes, because I know I didn't tap any buttons this time, and it just shut off on its own, no apparent reason. I don't know why. I don't. Battery's fine, plenty of space left on the memory card, etc., etc. Why did you shut down on me? Oh well. So I was talking about the Invader Parasite when it shut off, so hopefully there's not going to be a gap. If there is, expect something extra to be spliced in too. Oh well. So anyways, yeah, the Parasite, I like him. He's fun. He's a little high on the mana curve, but I still like him. Oh look, it's a Urbrask the Hidden. I've only got 1 of him, sadly. He's a 4/4. All your dudes have haste. Creatures your opponent control enter the battlefield tapped. For 5 mana, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. His power touch isn't quite as high as you might expect from one of the Priders in this set, but he's pretty solid. He's pretty solid. I like him. Flameborn Viren. This is the 2nd time we've seen Crawworm in red with a different tribe. Well, this time it's insect. Last time it was giant. It's unexceptional, to say the least. Molten Steel Dragon, on the other hand, I mentioned him earlier. I like this guy. 4 double Phyrexian red for a 4/4 flyer with fire breathing. But the fire breathing's on Phyrexian red rather than straight red. This guy can do a number on people. You can drop him stupid early and just ruin people's day. And it's awesome. It's just awesome. Chancellor of the Forge, who, strangely enough, is more powerful than the Prider. The Red Prider. He's a 5/5, a 4 and triple red. He's a giant. At the beginning of your... you may reveal him if he's in your opening hand. If you do, at the beginning of the first upkeep, doesn't say if it's yours or not, you get a 1/1 red goblin creature token with haste. It's alright. It's nothing to write home about so far. When he enters the battlefield, you get X 1/1 red goblin creature tokens with haste, where X is the number of creatures you control. That's kind of interesting. The only bad thing I have to say about him, though, is at 7 mana? What are you going to do with this guy at 7 mana? I mean, seriously. You need to cheat him into play. And if you're a cheat big creature type into play, you're not really going to have a whole hell of a lot of creatures on the board, so he's not going to give you a lot of token dudes. If you already have a lot of creatures on the board, you're running a weenie deck, and you probably have a low mana curve in which this guy won't fit. So I really don't know what to say about this guy. I mean, he works at cross purposes with himself. His mana cost and his comes into play ability just fight with each other. I don't know. I don't know. Oh well. I'm going to call that a wrap. We'll cover black and blue tomorrow. Some point or another tonight, but tomorrow I'm going to start trying to sort through those core sets. Alright, and hopefully I won't have to go in and edit crazy stuff around too much with this video. I mean, I know I'm going to have to do at least one splice already, because the camera decided to shut down and give me a great big middle finger, blah 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 blah. I don't know. Maybe it's because of the way I hold it, because sometimes the case near the top will flex a little bit when I touch it, or when I put too much pressure on it, so maybe it's accidentally hitting the power button like that. I don't know. I don't know. I have to think about that. Oh well. Call this video a wrap. Cross my fingers, hope that I don't need to record any more footage for it. And say have a good night, fellas. Laters.